You might be using the wrong publishing model or considering the wrong publishing model. What might that mean? Essentially, you have three publishing models that are available to you. We have the traditional publishing, self-publishing, and what I call entrepreneurial publishing. As far as traditional publishing is concerned, like that's the romantic view that a lot of us have of a publisher, which means the author is sitting on their porch and writing their manuscript and maybe taking a phone call from the agent, having an argument with the agent, and then going back to their writing. Where does that come from? It probably comes from some movies, and that's been ingrained in our minds. This is a very outdated model. It's been sort of pushed away by Jeff Bezos and KDP. Essentially, what this means is that anybody can publish a book. Does it mean that just anybody should? No, they shouldn't. We're going to go over this. And then we have entrepreneurial publishing, which, in a summary, is the best of both worlds, meaning that you have the professional support of a team that you would have in traditional publishing, but you have the creative control and many other advantages that you have when self-publishing. Shall we dive in? Okay, so essentially, if you talk about traditional publishing, like let's divide this into some categories here. So ownership of rights, like that's very important to a lot of authors. Essentially, in traditional publishing, the publisher owns the rights, so you give away your rights. Then in terms of self-publishing, you have 100% of your rights. Same in entrepreneurial publishing, you retain your rights. Now, let's talk about royalties. Very few people understand the differences between royalties. So, for example, traditional publisher, typically you're going to get 10% of the retail price. So if your book is available at $20 online, you're probably getting maximum $2 per copy. If you're self-publishing, you get 100% of net profits, and if you're publishing with an entrepreneurial publisher, typically you get 100% of net profits. That's what you get when you work with leaders brands. In terms of creative control, traditional publisher, well, that's limited. The publisher decides on the title, on the cover, on the edits, like you might not even like them. And self-publishing, you have full control. That means you can also make a lot of mistakes. Like maybe you think that the cover you came up with or that the title you came up with is great, when in reality, that's going to be the beginning of the death of your book. And in entrepreneurial publishing, you're guided by experts. So you have full creative control, but if you're choosing a cover that's going to underperform, like your publishing partner will never say, yeah, let's go with that. Let's do that. No, why? Because they want to have another case study. They want you to be successful. Or when you work with us, we want you to be successful and to bring us more people. So that's why we wouldn't let anybody get away with a terrible cover or a terrible title just because, of ego, for example, right? Like you might work with some people who culturally are not going to tell you that something is bad. Well, that's not us. Speed to market. Okay, so in terms of traditional publishing, that's slow. 1 to 2 years is considered pretty quick. If you're self-publishing, I mean, hey, you can do it in a couple minutes, right? Like just publish whatever. Then of course nobody's gonna buy, but you can. Like one guy published a picture of his foot, right? Like you can. And in entrepreneurial publishing, it's gonna take some months. Like if we're gonna do things right, they take time, like sort of like a baby, right? If you want to do this right, you need to give it 9 months to mature. Like you pull it out, 5 months. At 5 months might be a little bit, might be trouble. Same with a book. Editing takes time. Like things take time, but we don't want them to take more time than is actually necessary. So we're not going to keep that baby in the oven for 2 years, for sure. Now, upfront cost. So this is when it gets interesting. You don't have any upfront costs when you do traditional publishing, like it's essentially zero. You might even get an advance. What is an advance though? It's some money that the publisher gives you. However, you have to earn it back. So it's essentially a zero interest loan. You're going to get this advance, but then the book has to make the royalties, earn the royalties, and first the publisher is going to take those royalties. And only then, once the advance has been earned back, only then do you get to get the royalties. In terms of upfront cost for self-publishing, like typically it's going to be, the tens of thousands, and there's going to be trial and error. So you're going to make bad decisions. You're going to purchase stuff and then throw it out. There are people who go into six figures self-publishing. When it comes to entrepreneurial publishing, like what you're getting into. So there's going to be an upfront cost. That's typically between 10, 30, 60, just depending on how much help you need. But we're in that range, 10 to 60K, depending on what you need. But you're gonna, like, that's it. And you're going to be supported by somebody who's ideally worked with hundreds of authors. So there's no trial and error like you would have when you self-publish. Now, in terms of quality control, so in traditional publishing, the publisher handles all the editing, design, and layout, and as in entrepreneurial publishing as well. So only when self-publishing, like, you have to manage your own thing. So that's when it gets a little bit troublesome. Marketing support, same. Well, not really same, because traditional publishers, they don't really market or invest in marketing for all of their books. They're sort of like VCs. When they're gonna publish 100 books, and they expect 1 or 2 to really take off, and that's gonna pay for all the failures. So you probably will be between the 98 that are not gonna get a lot of marketing. When you're doing entrepreneurial publishing, you're gonna get a professional team that will handle all of it, and it will guarantee it. If you're publishing by yourself, like, it's all on you. Now, in terms of distribution, we all use the same channels, bookstores, libraries. Same as with the professional help, we use the same editors, the same cover editors. And when I say we, I mean traditional publishing and entrepreneurial publishing. It's the same people working in the industry. If you're on your own, like, then you have to find freelancers and hope and pray that will work out. Now, in terms of barrier to entry, traditional publishing is very difficult to get. Like, first, you need to find an agent, and only about 1% of the submissions that agents get accepted. And then that agent, like, that doesn't even mean you have a publisher. It just means you have an agent who needs to pitch this to a publisher, because traditional publishers, do not accept unsolicited submissions. So it's extremely rare to even be accepted by a traditional publisher, and then it's super slow, and then you have to give your rights away, and you don't even have control. In terms of barrier to entry for entrepreneurial publishing, it's moderate. It requires an investment, so like people will sort of self qualify, and there are no gatekeepers to self-publishing, like, which is why the quality can be very low. Now, in terms of time investment, it's a high time investment for traditional publishing, particularly high when you think about all the querying, editing, waiting. It's also high when you're doing self-publishing, because you're doing everything on your own, so that's super high. And with entrepreneurial publishing, the time investment is low. So you get a team that's doing all the work for you, or most of the work for you. You're essentially approving decisions. So that's how it works. Now, in terms of ROI, like, super important, right? Traditional publishing, it's long-term, it's uncertain. For self-publishing, it's potentially high with effort. And for entrepreneurial publishing, like, that's why it's entrepreneurial publishing. You have high ROI potential. All the links in the book will go to your website. We will create calls to action to make sure you can get a quick ROI on with speaking, with consulting, with foreign rights. We set up the funnels so that you benefit from the book in the best way possible. A traditional publisher wants links to their website because they want to promote more of their books, right? Like, they have the rights, they have their own business to promote, not yours. So in terms of ROI, like, if you're thinking about this as an entrepreneur, like, the entrepreneurial model is for you. So who is traditional publishing for? Like, it's essentially for academics, people who are looking for like a traditional publisher to put on their CV. So that's academia. Self-publishing is good for DIY authors with time, with project management skills. So if you have a lot of time, or if you want to learn the publishing industry, like, go do it yourself. Like, that's how you can learn. And then who is entrepreneurial publishing for? Like that's for entrepreneurs, for speakers, for consultants, for executives, people who know that in order to get to a certain level, like you need to work with teams, you need to like it's who, not how. Like you're not going to go in and learn this. You already have a business that you're running, you already have your unique abilities, so you're going to surround yourself with the who's who possess the how. So if you want to learn more about how to actually work with an entrepreneurial publisher so that you get the you can keep the rights, you get the highest royalties, you get the fastest ROI, go to leadersbrands.com and you'll see how that might work for you.